Good morning. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Priscilla Nyenator. I am your host today. I know at this time on Sundays, we do a new day conversation, and on a new day, we talk about women's right and sexual diverse gender populations right. But today we are talking about elections because this is the election season in Liberia. So the next few weeks it will be all about elections, elections, and elections. So we are honored today to have with us the vice presidential aspirant for the Grassroots Development Movement, Mr. Alex Gontee. Mr. Gontee was born in Phoebe Hospital, Bon County, and he says his father is from Nimba and his mother is from Bon County. Mr. Gontee is a small business entrepreneur both in Liberia and the United States. He's married with two children, and he tells us about his early education, which was in the hills of Yekepa Nimba County, that very cold place. And his secondary and high school education was at various schools, including the Booker Washington Institute, um, Grafton, and undergraduate education was at Don Bosco Polytechnic, where he did accounting and management. And then later, he went to the Awolowo University in Nigeria, where he studied estate management with emphasis on urban development. So Mr. Gontee is a developer. He considers himself a philanthropist with a foundation both in the United States and Liberia called Tyler Alexander Foundation, which serves the needy. And at this place, they also run a food pantry in Jonesboro, and they are soon to establish one at another location in Grand Bassa County, Liberia. Welcome to Focus on Liberia, Mr. Gontee. Happy Sunday, sir. It's good to have you joining us today.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. It is my absolute honor to be here on Focus on Liberia, which I saw so many times with my friend Dennis Ja. And, nice meeting you. You have a friendly demeanor, and I feel relaxed to have this conversation with you. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your kind words. It's good to meet you too. So yeah, before we came on, we were just talking about, some of the visits you have done, and you just got back. You were texting while on a plane, and I was asking you, I bet you were like, what kind of lady is this? It's like, what are you bringing to the Liberian people? What is your manifesto? No, I need you to tell me now. Why should I interview you? And then little did I know that, girl, I'm just coming back from Liberia. I spent a month, and and just found out that it's your fifth or sixth time now going back and forth from the US to Liberia. So I bet that you are doing some amazing work back home. So you're going to be telling us now what you are about. Tell us, give us a brief history, what your party is about. But first, start with your party name. What is the name of your party?
Well, thank you for inviting me again. And we are the Grassroots Development Movement. Uh, it's a party that started off as a social development movement, actually, kind of catering to people, their rights, their inherent rights, and what they should know as a people. So we kind of got registered as a nonprofit and a social development movement. But then, right around this time, where election is looming, we decided, well, we can go in and test the waters and find out, what is happening in Liberia. How can we be of assistance on a wider level? So on a wider scale, and we decided to actually go in and get registered as a political party. And we want to champion the cause of our people. We want equal rights, as it is on the Constitution. We want equal opportunities under the Constitution, like the government should do for its people. Having all of these things from our natural resources or the resources of the country to cater to the needs of our people. And we found out that they have failed. They have failed the country desperately. So our party is coming in as one of those who would champion those just basic needs of our people and challenge those in power, to meet the needs of our people. Now, if they can't, we are so suited to replace them. And that's our bid right now, to replace them and have one good construct put in place to actually manage the resources of our nation properly and have an equitable distribution of our wealth, which is something that is not seen in our country. There's a whole level of poverty that's existing, and a whole level of undereducation for our youth, a whole level of joblessness for just the population. So it's a dire need for some new direction, some new vision to take precedence in our country today. And that's why we have come in to ask the Liberian people that we are here to lend assistance. We are here to serve them if they can give us that opportunity too.
Okay, thank you. So you have some bullet points of your manifesto, include law and order, public safety, quality education and teachers, women and youth empowerment, and a few others. So let's delve into your manifesto. Now, law and order or public safety. Tell us, how does the grassroots development movement plan to enforce law and order, especially regarding public safety? What makes your approach unique?
Thank you again for that question. And I think that's the number one thing that is just uh, prevalent in Liberia once you enter Liberia, especially in the Monrovia area, which is a densely populated area, and you have a lot of economic activities going on in Monrovia. The level of lawlessness is just beyond the pale. Um, and our approach, as a matter of fact, would be our first approach if we are given the opportunity. The first approach is to really restore law and order into that country. And how are we going to go about doing that? Because yes, there are laws that are already on the grounds. Our problem is we don't abide by those laws. There are stringent laws to restrict people, transportation, and all of these things. And but we don't actually abide by them. We don't implement them. So we're gonna go in there and implement those laws first, and then on top of that, look at our law enforcers. Okay, we're gonna incentivize these people because they put their lives on the line for patents. They are not being paid properly. We're gonna make sure that these people are paid properly and on time, and they're giving all of the bells and whistles that they need to carry on their duties. Now, if you go to Monrovia today and you approach a police officer, or say police officer approaches you, first thing you take a look at his demeanor, you take a look at his appearance. To him, it's somewhat to me that they are not being taken care of. They are not being empowered. So we want to go in and empower these people. And that's the only way anything is going to really take precedence in Liberia, if we have good law and order. And on top of that, our judiciary has to be really streamlined and has to, be overhauled. Okay. I know for a fact there are cases on the docket with all different, court systems just sitting there, cannot move. And to the point where we know that, judges are being paid on the hand, to handle certain cases, which is the travesty of of justice. If a judge will have to be paid, to render justice. So all of these things have to be looked at and put into proper perspective. That will be our approach and our first and foremost thing we'll have to do if we are given the opportunity.
Okay. Um, so what's about quality education and teachers? Can you elaborate on the party's vision for improving the quality of education in Liberia? How do you plan to address the need for well-trained teachers to ensure quality education?
And thank you for that again. And I'll just give you some basis on that. Our quality education. The education system in Liberia is almost non-existent. Um, you find few schools. I'm talking, about a parochial system. From kindergarten to maybe the grade school to 12th grade. Let's just take that for example. Okay. In the private sector, you have private institutions that are doing, okay with their resources they have to put in their school system because they're going to have that for a price. But with the government system, where it is enshrined in the Constitution, where the government is responsible for the education of its people. Okay. So, foremost of that, we will make sure to incentivize these teachers as well, like we are doing the police officers. Okay. We will have to find funding from somewhere because look at our income in Liberia. Where is the revenue coming from? How is it being distributed? I mean, it's not something that we are privy to, but I think we are at the stage where we have money that can come in and can be distributed among these various organizations, government ministries, so that they can be effective. And we're going to look at the pay grade of certain people who are making way up there, and we have people who are not making anything at all. So we're going to look at how we're going to fund education system, and that should be priority number one for our students. Today you find out that the young kids are out there trying to go and fend for the family, talking about doing business. You have a little kid with chewing gum, for instance. They're going to walk the streets all day trying to sell chewing gum. The entire market that is selling might amount to maybe $5. So they're going to have that for a week going up and down the streets when they're supposed to be in school. So these are the things we're going to look at, and we're going to make sure that it's mandatory. Mandatory after everything is set in place that these kids of certain age, say from 5 years old to 13, should be in school. If not, we're going to hold the parents responsible why the kids are not in school because these we're going to have education system that will be available to them. So we're going to hold them responsible because the nation now should depend on these people. When they are growing up, they are not being fed the proper education so that they can take over the helms of the country when the time comes. So what are we doing here today is that we are fostering, our next generation that have no basic education because we are not intentional and we're not paying attention to their growth.
Okay, what's about they plan to address the need for well-trained teachers to ensure quality education. So you got the kids in school, all those children in school. We know of situation where children, children go to school but no teachers. So they say they coming home. They say, I will say, what happened? Oh, no good school today. Or they go and spend the whole day. And know I
Playing.
know I
Yeah.
know I've been to Banga and places going to do training, and then schools were quote unquote open for a few weeks, but students they didn't have chalks. They didn't have nothing for teacher to even start with. So I had to give as yeah, we did assignments with few of my trainees and then did a story and then got to Monrovia. The next thing we realized, and then the deputy minister or assistant got mad, called someone who's close to me. they know me and they were supposed to call me on the side and just let me know that this thing is happening in one country. And was like, no, that's not what I went to do. We went to expose
Wow.
these things because they're lying that school is open. So my question is, how are you going to address the need for well-trained teachers to ensure quality education after you get the children into the classrooms?
Good. And that should come along with getting them in the classroom. We want to have quality teachers. We want to have people who are well paid. We want to have people who are well trained. I know of institutions or organizations that are going to Liberia on a contractual basis. Somebody I'm very close to, also going in to train our teachers. But the problem is they are faced with all of these roadblocks. You know, the government is not having this cozy relationship with people who are coming in, with the knowledge to help, train our teachers and give them the requisite, knowledge that they need. So that will have to be addressed where we're going to have a public-private partnership with the government, and then we're going to seek additional funding to fund these initiatives because it's very important. I mean, the teachers, they're working because they love what they do and they want to impart, on the kids. But they also need to live. They also need, to make a living. So we will have to look into how we can apportion some of our budget to meet the needs of teachers. Okay, and those organizations that are coming from various places to help with training and getting the kind of a quality teaching teachers that we need. We will also incentivize them, work in close relationship with them so that they can further help with the education system in Liberia.
Okay, let's go to women and youth empowerment. First of all, what is your party's status when it comes to meeting the gender quota, the 30%? Where are you on that?
Well, with the party, yes, we have inculcated, with the membership and the hierarchy of the party. Uh, I think we have 50%, not even 30. Okay, so we have more women working along with us equitably, where you have the men and the women are there. The party chair is a lady. The campaign chair is a lady, and in various places where we have our offices, we have women in those areas. So it's something that we actually accept, and I think women working with women is something that, from my own experience, they listen very well. They implement to the letter. If there's a plan that you need implementation, go to a woman. She will be able to put that in place for you. Because my wife and I, we do run a business, jointly, and just take it from there. That would tell me, how women think, because I think she represents a microcosm of women who are in business. So, we are meeting that quota and beyond. And I think we want to champion their cause even more, giving them the requisite support that they need. A lot of women in Liberia now are taking the load, with the unemployment going on. They're all there trying to, sell, little stuff here and there and bring, income to the family. So they are doing an enormous job, trying to hold down the family. When the kids want to go to school, they don't have money. They run to the mother. So we want to meet, with these people, I mean, the women, and help them in their cause, and as well as the youth. I just spoke about them, earlier. They're in dire straits. The youth are in dire straits. They are having the worst time of their lives. Now, when I was coming up, I know, it was not easy, but we had access to things. Okay. Number one, you have to go to school. Okay. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to be in school. Now, if you don't, you're going to have something coming from your parents because all we needed to do was to go to school. They're going to feed you, clothe you, and put a roof over your head. So that was your number one thing. Go to Liberia today. And then I would take Monrovia as a case study. The youth over there. what is happening to them? No school, no job. The light at the end of the proverbial tunnel is blackened because they have nothing to do. Now you find out. Now I just segue a little bit to what is happening. You find out that most of the campaigns that are going on now, you find that the young people are in droves and in groups, going behind these various caravans, in the streets. It's not because they love to do that. It's not because they have loyalty to these parties. Um, it's because they have nothing to do, most of them, and they want to be amongst people who are doing something, because if they were working or doing something that would benefit their family, they wouldn't be coming up in droves like that. So it's a mixed message that is going on in the country today. We want to change that. We want to give them a purpose. We want to be able to put them where they have this cause that, look, my life in the next 5 or 10 years, I want to be in certain place. I want to be able to do this. Give them that hope in life. There's
Okay,
no hope
so
right now.
Mr. Gontee, I just want to make sure I get this straight. Um, just let me know, yes or no. Grassroots development movement. Did you say you have exceeded the 30% quota for gender?
Yes, we've exceeded that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, we've exceeded that.
And
I mean,
and then
we have more women. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, thank you. And then I probably missed the specific initiatives that the party have to empower women and youth. I understand the situation that's happening with our youth, and thank you for elaborating a little more for our audience that is non-Liberian, so that we all understand the dire need. I just want to know whether there are specific initiatives that your party have to empower women and youth.
Yes,
Just one or
we
two.
air yeah,
Mm.
we've earmarked some things that we would do, and that is all contingent on us ascending to power. So we're going to look for those resources, and what we are saying is those resources are there. They are not just intentionally giving to the women. So we're going to
Oh,
make sure they are a portion for them.
okay.
So doing as well for the youth. Okay, a part of the budget will be just geared, specifically for their needs,
All right.
because I think what is happening over there is most of the budget that is being set, is it's not being applied to those areas that is being set for. And we're going to put that into proper perspective, where when the budget is laid out and the funding is there, must go for that particular initiative that was intended for.
All right, thank you, sir. So now let's go to agriculture. How does the grassroots development movement envision transforming agriculture to benefit both local farmers and the nation at large?
Thank you. And that is one of our main uh, part of our initiative. Here we have several individuals, within our party who are just specialists in these areas. Now, I was learning some stuff from them. And let me just give you this. It takes 3 months to plant rice, our staple food. 3 months from transplanting to harvesting. Did you know that?
No.
3 months. So why is Liberia not able to feed itself with the vast land that we have? Why are we not able to grow our staple food, and we are still depending on external, support, external aids to come and feed us? Why? That begs the question. But I'm telling you, we have because my uncle who works along with me is an agronomist. Okay, and he was telling me this thing here. They have the ideas, we have the technology, we have the know-how, we have the people to do these things. Why is it not being done? And I can give you some more. Look, when I was growing up, I used to go to the Bone County area, for vacation. And Bone County had, this. whole setup with the carry, you know, we have BCADP, there's a Central Agricultural Research Institute. We have BCADP, the Bond Counted, Agriculture Cooperative. They had all of these programs, the Patawi project. You know, Patawi, you hear Patawi, Patawi. That is a rice project. And from my understanding, these people were making headways into how the technology worked. We had Chinese over there at Patawi, and I went there before. You know, my father was the managing director over at Patawi. So during the vacation time, I used to go down there and see what was being done. And they had a very nice layout. You know, they were understanding, the technology of planting rice, and all of these things were done. Even at Cary, where the research was done, all of these things were put in place, and gradually getting towards where we could plant and distribute our food. LMPC, I think, was established to do the distribution. What happened to all of these institutions, and all of these people who were trained under the auspices of the government? And I tell you, Cary had the most doctors from my time that I can remember. Doctors working, the Liberian doctors who were all sponsored by the government and had these. Where are they today? That's the question. So we have a robust kind of a program that we're going to set in place. Now, we have a pilot program that is already going on. There's a place called Jebel Farm in Swakoko. Jebel Farm. Write that down. Let your audience go and find that out. That is a pilot going on that GDM is engaged in, and see the produce from over there. I mean, it's a small kind of a project, but at the end of 3 months, we had rice, we had sweet potatoes, we had the cassava, we had all of these things that we are craving for in Monrovia over there. But we have people just wandering in Monrovia with nothing to do, and we can tap into that human development, bring them on the farm to help grow our staple. Now, those are the things we are looking at. You find the vagrants over there, you call them Zocos. They need to be redirected where they can help, with these initiatives. That's another way to look at it. And you have the people still doing subsistence farming in the rural areas. We can also give assistance to them. We're going to look for that money in the budget and make sure that it's appropriated to those people that need the help so that we can be self-sufficient in food production.
All right, and then Liberian business empowerment. That's one of the bullet points that I saw in your manifesto. So, what plans will empower local Liberian businesses, especially in a competitive international market? What is the plan that you are thinking about to empower local Liberian businesses?
Well, good question. And full disclosure, I am a businessman myself. So, and we will first of all look at local businesses and how they can be of real help to our economy, taking full control of our economy. And I tell you, that's the thing I am championing. I'm going back home so we can help with taking over our economy. Our economy is overrun by foreigners. Mainly, you got the Arabs over there, and they're doing the best, because we have this policy where it's open to them. They come in and they make a good living. But the Liberians don't see the benefit. Liberians are not being giving the abilities to do business in Liberia like they do the foreigners. Why is that? Why is that? Why should a foreigner have more incentives in our country than us? And I'm not trying to be xenophobic. People come from different places, and establish. They are helping the economy somehow, employing our people. But we have to concentrate on our own resources. A guy like me, I have to take my own resources to get established in Liberia. My own resources. No government funding, not whatsoever. So I don't blame, because we don't have people who have the vision to see what is needed to help the economy grow. And in order to do that, you have to be local. I can give you a few examples of our neighbors. You go to Nigeria. I live in Nigeria for a little bit. You saw in my bio there. And their local economy is being absolutely done by Nigerians. You will not find, like we have in Liberia, a Lebanese guy having a little bakery, or selling, groceries in the store. No, it's being done by the locals. That way, your money is in your economy, it's circulating in your economy. Now, if you take, for example, I'm a Liberian. If I do business in Liberia and I, made some money, that money is going to remain within the Liberian economy. I'm not going to send it to anybody. I don't have relatives, someplace else that I'm going to feed them or clothe them. They are right there in Liberia. So the flight of our money is going to remain there if we concentrate on our local business people. What are the plans that we have in place for incentivizing our local business people? Is also making available funding, which is the primary thing. Okay, we're going to find that money within the budget. We're going to ask people, Liberian, business people, what is it that you need or that we can help you with to augment your business, to make you better off, than what you are right now. So that's the initiative, the private and public sector initiative we are talking about, where we're going to go out there looking for our Liberian businesses to actually incentivize.
All right. And then you have affordable housing. Can you share insights on the party's approach to affordable
Yes,
housing and how you intend to implement that?
affordable housing is right now something that is non-existent in Liberia. As a matter of fact, the Liberian government does not have any public housing that I know of that is available for its people. They had estate, Battersville, you have Cabra
Nigeria.
Estate, you have Matal. These were public housing. Those were intended for public housing. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't blame the present government, but I think those initiatives were misused, and they were not giving to the intended
Population.
individuals, intended Liberians. So we're gonna put into a place where we can build houses, public housing for our citizens. Okay, we're gonna tear down those slumps. For example, you have the West Point area. You have all of those places that are so inimical to the health of the people. If there's an outbreak in West Point, my goodness, what is going to happen over there? So we're going to find the funding as well, and put into place public housing that is going to remove these people from these drug infested areas, these health hazards, and put them in these housing. And that will be when we have a clear understanding of what our revenue is, our income and expenditure should be on par. We should be able to balance that. So we are looking into these things, as we put our policies together, which will remain dynamic until we can, pinpoint exactly how we're going to get the funding. Because we also know that there are other, international fundings that come to the country for certain initiatives. But the way they've been distributed, we don't know. So until we can get in there, we will see how these things are apportioned to the various initiatives they are intended for. That way, we can actually bring about the public housing that we talked about. We can also, do with the agricultural projects and all these things. They have people out there. They have countries. We are a member of a committee of state of countries in the world. I mean, they are coming to our assistance. But I think there is something I was reading in some report from the United Nations. Liberia has to clamp down on corruption because it's the number one thing that is killing the growth of our country. So if they can clamp down on corruption, all those resources that are being just taken away by individuals for their personal gain can be apportioned to these various initiatives. The money is there, but it's not being appropriately apportioned.
Okay. Yeah, if you're watching us, if you're just joining us, we are in conversation with, we're doing an interview with the vice presidential candidate of the Grassroots Development Movement, Mr. Alex Gontee. And this is focused on Liberia. We have like 16 days left to the elections in Liberia. The elections in Liberia is October 10th. And even though we have another program at this time on Focus on Liberia, a new day, and I'm the host of that program, but this time around for the next few weeks, we'll be talking about elections issues because this is election season. So if you're just joining us, thank you for joining us. Stay with us as we discuss the plans of the Grassroots Development Movement. In studio with us today is the vice presidential aspirant. Let's go on to Mr. Gonti. Let's go to the public utilities. Um, so there, I mean, you talk to Liberians, there are a lot of different experiences. I used to live there before I came over. I remember situations where, some of us say we want to do the right thing, play by the rules, go to LEC or water and sewer, do all the paperwork, pay all the required monies that needed to get water running in your house. And for months, I just could not get water in my house. And then one day I'm at work, my partner at the time called me and say, "Oh, baby," and they say the people call, they say I used to live in Sophie. The people call, they say they are at Old Road Market or Joba and they want to come to install the water in a house, but they out of gas. They don't have gas. And I tell him, okay, tell them they did to
You're
get gas.
kid,
They come.
you're kidding me, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they did to get gas, they can come. Like they right across the street from Oro to Joe, I mean to Sophie, and they don't have gas. Besides that, I don't and he's like, you continue that kind of attitude, we're not going to get water and anything in this house. Like, but I went there, we did all the required stuff. And the same way with the electricity, we went through the process and to get the poor to come to plant the poor in the community. It was the same kind of, oh, you got to give people bribe and then they plant the poor to connect. It would take another week or two to connect the electricity with. So all of those kind of things, what are the party's priorities for improving public utilities? How do you plan to tackle issues like access to clean water and reliable electricity?
Thank you very much again for that question. And I whenever I go to Monrovia, I tend to stay away from the public water. I do the bottled water and maybe use that in the bathroom. But here, the problem with that is if we have managers, okay, the right people placed in the right places to manage these institutions or these utilities, I can guarantee you will get the best results. I would place that to the feet of whoever is the managing director over there. How does he go to sleep at night? I mean, do you realize that within a day's time, your priorities set, the quotas that you're supposed to meet, are they met? Is there a system where you can find out whether the things that you are set out to provide to the people is being provided? Okay. Now that is at the feet of the managing director. So we do have the facilities. We do have, the workings of these things. Why are they not being implemented? So we're going to put the right person who is going to manage that facility and make sure that it is done the way it should be done. If you're supposed to provide water, you have to provide water. And we will have our eyes and ears open to make sure that these people who are tasked with the responsibility of doing these things are doing what they are paid for. Other than that, you're going to get replaced. Okay, and there's a budget for all of these. You can't go out and fetch something new. It's there already, it's just not being implemented. Same thing with the light. Okay, now before I left Monrovia, we had this myriad of plantation of solar panel lights. Okay, they're just planting that stuff, and I was wondering, so where were these things? Like 2 months ago. Is it just one of these elections ploy that you say you're doing certain things because election is around, and I see them trying to clean the potholes and along the roads. These things have been there for eons. They don't touch them. Okay, you got a few weeks to election, and then I see people. So that means we we do have these materials to use. We have all of these things on hand, but what is happening? Why aren't they being used for their intended purposes? Begs the question that we don't have the right managers in the right places. I think we are putting square pegs in round holes, or round pegs in square holes. So that's the way to tackle that. We're gonna put in the right people in the right places.
Okay. Now let's talk about civil servants. How does the party plan to prioritize on-time pay for civil servants? I mean, it's ridiculous that people work for 3, 4, 6 months and they just can't take pay. I don't understand how you wouldn't want people to be corrupt. I mean, not an excuse, but how do you send people to work and not paying them on time? So, what is the plan to prioritize unpaid time for civil servants?
Good question again, and we got to look at the root cause. Why are the civil servants not being paid on time? Is it that the money is not available? We don't have it in the budget, or is it that certain individuals who are responsible to pay these people are taking upon themselves just to punish them? Is that the situation? We
Or
don't
is
know, but but it is a travesty. And in the states here, after a week, I'm a businessman, as a matter of fact, before the week ends, they're not going to wait for Friday. They want to get paid on Thursday. So and it puts the Liberian workers in a very peculiar position where you have a family to feed. These people leave their homes every morning to go to work. You know, uh, they have to live. They have to put roof over their heads. They have other expenses. And you don't pay them. It's really, really of a travesty. In that country. But to straighten that out again, we're gonna have. We know there's a budget that they passed. What, $777 million? I will come to that. Why are we having that kind of a low budget? But that's another thing. But in order to make that budget, you have to account for civil servants' pay. You have to account for all of these various projects that we talk about to put it in the budget. So that means it's being funded theoretically. Okay, it's being funded theoretically. So what is happening? We see money being spent for things that are not uh, important to the welfare of our people. So where is that money going? Where is it? We're going to clamp down on that. And I tell you, the number one thing also that is preventing these people from getting paid on time is corruption. Again, corruption.
That's what's so down. That's a smooth transition into my next question: fighting corruption. What are the discuss a few mechanisms that will be employed to fight corruption within your government if you become elected? And yeah, what are the mechanisms that you will employ to fight corruption within the government and public sector?
Good question. And that is the number one thing that's going to fix Liberia. If you can fight corruption, you can handcuff corruption and lock corruption in jail, Liberia will be fixed because it sends a message that this is a no corruption zone. But what we're going to do is to empower, like I talked about, earlier about the public safety and and law and order. We're going to empower our law enforcers. Number one, we also discuss on how we need a big and beautiful jail compound to steal the word from Donald Trump. We're going to put a big, beautiful jail, and that should serve as a deterrent because if you steal, we got a big word called corruption. If you steal the Liberian people's money, we're going to lock you up in our big house and you're going to serve good time. That should serve as a deterrent. Okay. And that's our way forward to fighting corruption. And we are serious about it. Our police officers are going to be the number one that we're going to check, make sure they themselves are not corrupt because now we're going to incentivize them. We're going to give them what they need, what they needed. We're going to pay them on time. We're going to give them the right uniforms. We're going to give them the right, utilities that they need, the vehicles and what have you, so that they can be serious law enforcers. Okay. And train them properly. I just left from there and they were going through some training, as a matter of fact, for the whole electoral process. So we're going to retrain these police officers and put emphasis on how they can approach this particular thing called corruption. And it's not only government officials who are corrupt now. It's trickling down to even the common people on the streets, your cousins and, your neighbors and all of that. Everybody want a piece of the pie. So, and that's a wrong path to be heading. Okay. So we're going to have a deterrent set up so that we can clamp down on corruption in that country.
Okay. And now, some of us have learned in the diaspora that we've learned that drugs have overtaken. It's just so sad to learn that, or maybe when we're there, we weren't paying attention, or maybe it has worsened now. But what strategies do you have in place to combat drug abuse and trafficking?
Thank you for that question. And just to piggyback on what you were saying about whether we didn't when we were coming up, the biggest thing was opium or marijuana or the weed. So that's the biggest drug we knew about. But today, they're having a concoction of all kinds of stuff in that country.
That's what they say.
Ooh, now they have the one called Kush.
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
they
the
say.
one that just immobilized them. They stand like zombies, and they can't move. What is happening over there? Who are importing these deadly things for our young people? Who's doing that? Okay, so we'll go back to what a couple of months ago when there was an arrest of $200 million worth of drugs coming to the country. What a travesty! I mean, to let these people off the hook, we should look at our judicial system. Okay, and I also talked about that, earlier. How are we going to fix the judiciary? Make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. Judges are being paid in order to render judgment on cases. I mean, these things are just further going to drag our country down the wrong path. So, to fight drugs, we're going to have our law enforcers out there, with the proper gear, the proper training. And there are some people out there who are just done. They have so messed up in the mind with drugs. Those people they need to be taken seriously, and some other treatment should be geared for their livelihood because you see them walking on the streets. They're living in the graveyards. They go in there, dig out the bodies, and they're living down there. I went to we went to a campaign function over there on Center Street, and they were pointing to us, where people live. You understand? In the graveyard, and they talk about them taking out the bones and crushing the bones and using that as how did they learn those things? Where are the youth? And these are young people killing their minds, killing their brain cells. So we're going to clamp down on that, using our law enforcers, and we're going to look for funding to also deal, because it goes beyond just the using. We got to look at the importation of drugs. We got to look at the distribution of drugs. We got to look at the usage of it, which is the far end of it. You don't blame them, because if these people have work to do, I don't think they'll be looking for drugs, to kill their minds. So all of these things will have to be looked at critically. We have, set up some plans for that.
Yeah, sounds like not to make excuse, but sounds like the underlying factor is poverty. Or we cannot talk about Liberia for some reason uh, without recognizing that poverty is a persistent issue. What are the concrete steps the grassroots development movement propose to, if not completely eliminate poverty, but at least address it to an extent?
And Priscilla, that's a good question, and that's what's been boggling my mind since we started this process. And looking at the vast resources of our country. Okay, why? Begs the question again. Why are we poor in that country, or
And
proclaim to be poor? And I try to differ from that designation that Liberia is. We are a rich country. I mean, it's just that our riches is not reflective in our people. To say the wisdom of a nation is in its people. I say the riches of a nation is in its people. Liberia has all of these natural resources. And I think before we came on, we were talking about rainfall, okay, which is some of the things that other countries, are looking for. And I hiking all the way, I mean, back to Dubai whenever it comes to this question about poverty. Dubai or the UAE that is situated there in the desert with one prominent resource, oil. They were able to pull it off, and now they got another one, tourism, that the entire world is flocking over there because of the way they have managed their resources. Okay, why is Liberia poor? It's because we have poor managers of our resources. Now, if we can properly manage our resources, we will have enough money to go around in that country, and poverty will be something of the past. Okay, where's the iron ore that was being taken out of that country? Everything is just swept away. Is it accounted for? Do we know how much of these things are taken? You have Lamco, you have BF Goodrich that used to do the iron ore, you have Bong Mines. I mean, these are places, and there are some that are not even being discovered yet. Still, we are poor. And when you hear about diamonds and gold being exported out of the country, is those, I mean, are those resources or minerals being accounted for? uh, who's taking them out? And I tell you this, lastly, in Marshall, where I have a property, we have the Chinese coming over there. You know what they're getting out of there? They call it black sand. But black sand is not what made the people to know. Black sand is what you call zircon. Zircon is a mineral resource that is used by nuclear powers. Okay, spaceship. They're using these materials, to help, because the strength of zircon sits above iron. If you look on the periodic table now, okay, zircon is higher than iron. It's more tougher than iron. They're getting it from Liberia. Are we getting, the benefits of these things? And I can tell you, they pack up these things, put them in crates, and export them without
wow.
accountability. And that's something I've seen firsthand. You know, Let me give you some more information on that with this icon. A Chinese lady called me and said she wanted to pay me $5,000 to per year to take this icon from off of where my property is. It's right there on the beach. Okay, when you go to Marshall, they have the machine set up. You know, taking us dredging that place. Just disturbing the ecosystem over there. Messing up our beaches. But that thing is sticking out, and they're making a huge profit. If that was not the case, they wouldn't be over there paying people $5,000 per year to take Zycon from out of there. So we're going to set in place where we have an eye on our natural resources and making sure that every resource, our natural resource, is being accounted for. That way you can have, enough revenue in that country to sustain itself. Would not be called poor. Okay. I see the fisheries is doing good because we have a good manager over there. Okay. From my understanding, there's a young lady I met before. She's doing very well, with the fisheries. And this is the new blue economy. Okay. But is the money being accounted for? Are we seeing those revenue that are pouring in? We need a data on that. But we have enough to eradicate poverty. Now that's why I put over there we're gonna wage a war on poverty, just like we're gonna wage war on drugs.
Okay. And then the inclusion for people with disabilities. Could you discuss the framework your party is developing to include people with disabilities in various sectors?
Great question. I am a caregiver. Okay, so I have firsthand on what should be done. People with disability, and I got a son who is cerebral palsy, and he has an acute disability. So we understand, what it is. In Liberia, it's a whole different case. It's a whole different thing. The people with disabilities, they're not they are not being taken care of. We have this thing where they say maybe they are in wish, Liberian thing. The person is a wish or the e wish, and that's why they are what they are.
The way they are, yeah.
Not understanding that there's some physical disabilities. Some of them must have you know this uh, gene that might have the disability flowing through. We don't know, but because
I
they
think
come out that
whatever
way,
the reason.
th- there is no program, there's no governmental program that I know of that is helping these people. Most of the disabled or this disabled programs are something that we have foreigners coming in to implement. So the framework is going to be set up. We're going to copy, just like we have here in the United States. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. Okay, it's been reinvented already. I mean, it's been invented already. We just need to copy what is being done in this area, and specifically custom it to our needs. For people with disabilities in Liberia.
Okay. Is there any example, just brief one that you want to give before we come to
For
our
people with
wrap?
disabilities,
Yeah, I mean, I understand we're not reinventing the wheel, and I was going to say how are we going to customize it, but you already mentioned that we're going to customize it, copy it, customize it. Just give an example or two.
well, again, we look for funding for them. Okay, and you have to portion funding for these things. Making sure that we have accessibilities. In certain areas.
Okay.
Where they don't have to go through problems, and we have passed laws. We will propose laws. So that these accessibilities can be respected. By people who are able. Don't have disabilities. Because some people just overlook it and don't care. Maybe create a parking for people with disabilities. Make sure that buildings have ramps. A lot of buildings over there don't have ramps. Because they're not thinking about people with disabilities. You have these steps. I've gone in so many buildings, they are not up to standard. Including people with disabilities. So those are the inclusivity that we are talking about. And we're going to look into government as well, and make sure that people who have disability are not precluded from serving, because they have other, other abilities that they can render certain services. You understand? And I can give you this story just before we close. Um, Back in the day, there was a guy. I went to this school called RC Lawson to play some basketball match. It was over there in Buchanan, not Buchanan, but along the way to Buchanan, Owens Grove. And he was blind, and I was introduced to this guy. Okay, I've forgotten his name, but it still sticks to my mind. You know, I called my name, introduced myself to him, and I was on that campus for 3 days. After 3 days, he was at they used to go, there's a creek where they used to go and wash their clothes and stuff like that. So he was there washing his clothes because they said this guy didn't need anybody to help him do anything, not because he was blind, didn't mean he couldn't do anything. So I went and stood there and said, hi. It didn't even call his name, just hi. This guy called my name, my full name, as I introduced myself to him. He told me the exact day we came in there, and we were there to play a basketball. And I was astonished, with that kind of a collective memory or recollective memory he had to just know who I was just by saying hi. So these people, I think, they have other gifts that is, augmented, when one has been, depleted, if that's the right way to put it. So they have other abilities that we can utilize them in certain areas.
Okay. All right. So as we wind down, I'm going to just let's go to the general. So the grassroots development movement is a relatively new party. What do you think sets your party apart from other long-standing parties in Liberia?
Good question. And I will use myself as an example. What drives me into getting involved into this, which I call service for our people? We are different because we are sincere. The thing about getting into this service is something that comes from the heart, is deeply rooted inside of me. I can tell you this. I'm doing okay. There's no want. Uh, Basically, my needs are covered. From what I do. So I'm coming in actually to help people. Same thing with my standard bearer, Mr. Iwadi Apiton. He is nearing retirement from where he worked, with one of the big banking institutions. And we are coming in there with just clean hands, a vision for transformation, and a heart of patriotism. That's the number one thing. We are very patriotic in what we are getting ourselves involved in.
We heard
And if
that a
you're
lot.
patriotic, I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say we heard that a lot when certain party was coming in. It was just worded differently. Oh, the man got a country I had, and I used to wonder what does that even mean? Get a country I had.
I know.
So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's the same
but
thing. He
I
say
mean,
we're all supposed to be patriotic, right?
we are. But here's the thing, let's go deeper a little bit. If you're patriotic,
Yes.
true
Mhm.
patriot, that means love for your country and the people within your country. So I'm telling you, if you're patriotic, you won't steal from them because you will have empathy. You
Okay, so
understand?
that's what I wanted to know. What sets you apart? Because we've heard I'm patriotic. It's just been said differently. The men get the country at heart.
Yeah, no, no. I'm empathetic. I
Okay.
wouldn't I wouldn't go and take money away from the people with disabilities. Knowing that I understand how they are being affected. Okay, I wouldn't go and take money from the youth who don't have the future laid out properly for them. Yeah, I told you about our tunnel. It's blackened. Okay, I won't take money away from my neighbors. Who I know is struggling. The civil servant who needs to be paid and they can't get paid on time. As a matter of fact, you're paying them this low and still you can't give them the money. So for me, that word is a different word and it has gravity. And I believe that if you have that heart, you know, you will
That's
be
what's
different. You set yourself apart from the rest of the people who come and say they are patriotic.
okay. All right. So finally, what does your party commitment to equal rights and opportunities manifest in its manifesto and proposed actions? Again, what does your party's commitment to equal rights and opportunities manifest in its manifesto and proposed actions?
Right. So that came from the Constitution. You know, that's something that was borrowed from the Constitution that every government, okay, should be responsible for its people, giving them equal rights, equal opportunities to resources. And, we talk about the school system. The government in the Constitution should be responsible to make sure that there is, good schools for its citizens. Okay. So those are the things that we're looking at within the Constitution that should be first and foremost, because when you get into power, your first thing is to take care of your people. What do the people need? Okay, they need opportunities. They need, to live, and thrive. All right, so we're going to set these things in place by, having, our judiciary, spell out these things properly, so that we can pass it on to everybody who is responsible for making sure that the opportunities are there for kids to go to school, for equal employment. The government is responsible for that within the Constitution as well, to have employment. And I think the present government took that literally. But I think what it meant is that you should have an enabling, environment where you have investors coming in, to create jobs for the people, you know. But today, the environment is not enabling because law and order is not in place. Just lawlessness is just rife all over the place. So for a business person to come in and say, well, I want to invest $1 billion into the economy, they're looking at returns first and foremost. Because if you're a businessman, you're not looking at returns, then you're not a businessman for real. So they're looking at returns. And what are the conditions there to really, enable me to go in there, invest this kind of money, and make the kind of money that I need? So we have to have this enabling environment where we bring in investors to do the employment. And big big countries, like America, these the private sector is 80% contributing to its revenue, 80% contributing to the economy. Liberia, what is the percentage that the private sector is contributing to our revenue? I do not know. It's not out there. So we will go in and find out, where are these things, where's our resources going? Like I said earlier, how is it being taken out? Are there proper taxations on these exported, resources that are coming from our country? And I think that way we can clamp down on how revenue will come into the country, and we keep our eyes on our revenue, because that's where the people benefit as well. That's where you keep up with your budget. And another thing we didn't delve into is tourism. That's money just sitting over there waiting to be made. I travel a lot, and I'm not saying it just to be boastful, but I go around, and it hurts me to see that Liberia is a unique settlement, with all these natural resources that can really have tourism at the pinnacle in West Africa. But we are not intentional about really establishing a real touristic economy. You know, we don't have accessibility to these various places. I take for example where I am in Grand Bassa, okay, Edina, which is a very historic area, and it could be a nice place set up for tourism. Cheeseman, the president, Joseph Cheeseman, house is standing over there. Okay, but we don't have memorabilia in there. We don't have artifacts in there. We have trees growing through that building. I mean, I'm stunned to even see, the relics of it standing. Okay, we have Bob Gray. If you read that in your history, you remember the Master Chief. He's buried right there in Edina. Okay, we have a church, the Thomas King Church, that has been existing since 1836, still standing over there. Why can we not have people coming to those places? To just for the historical, relevance of it, and pay money, because you know what? Um, I went to Panama, not too long ago, and we were paying money to go and see the great rainforest in Panama. We got that surplus in Liberia, all over the place. As a matter of fact, we have the most rainforest in West Africa. If I pay money to go over there, you know how much people out there want to come to Liberia, because it's set up, where people can come and just see, look at the scenery. We have the flora, fauna, the animal species in there, that we can also. Because I went to look at butterflies and the bats in Panama, and we were paying like 20 bucks a piece, for maybe an hour times four, my family. So you do the calculation, how much money we got over there. And that's just one area though. We have the Sapo National Park. We have other areas, the Mount Nimba mountains. People. I was in Switzerland, and I saw the way how these people, have the mountain as a tourist area in Switzerland. What's the name of this area? I've forgotten, but they had these cars, the cable cars coming from there. Just people can see, go to the canopy of the mountain, and see, the forests and all of that. Pay a good bit of money to go over there. Where is Liberia on these things that have been in existence for years? We are not even thinking about these things. Now that's where we are coming in with the kind of experience that we have, to look in these areas. How can we foster some changes in, bringing about touristic dollars? How can we, manifest, our natural forestry to where it starts to generate money. So that's the things we are looking at. That's what set us apart. But I know, it's taking a little time for people to really get that up there. The voting population in Liberia now is being gaslit, and they're being fooled to think that the noise that is being made is where you need to run to. I'm not trying to step on any particular party, but we need to we need to think a little bit deeper than just the noise. That general, the group mentality. We got to run here because we see a group of people there, and we are feeling, dramatically, we are feeling to catch up with the 21st century. Okay, all of our neighbors around us. You go to Ghana. I was just there not too long ago, like 2 days ago. All right, the economy over there is speaking up. I mean, I know they just filed for bankruptcy, but these are people who are very particular about their economy, and they want to make it happen. So they're doing things to help build the economy. Now you go to Accra, it's where I usually go, and the yardstick that I use to see whether the development going in certain countries is how many cranes do you see doing construction. Now you go to Monrovia, how many cranes do you see up there trying to do construction?
Okay.
Zero. I know I got you with the earful, but zero. Now you go to Accra, you have a whole bunch of them just all over the place. New constructions. Revamping old buildings. We have Ijoro sitting there in ruins, and I don't know whether it's still structurally sound, but that used to be our crown jewel. Of one of our skyscrapers in Monrovia. You have the Ducal Palace Hotel sitting over there in ruins. Um, that again was one of the crown jewel that is going into ruins. I don't know. You have Hotel Africa. What is it today? Those are buildings that represented just modern you know metropolitan advancement. Where are they today? Um, so I don't know. We have a lot to do to catch up. in the 21st century. Our present status now, I think we're still tinkering in the 18th century with the way we do things, the way we think. We are not thinking in a forward position. So we need to change that. And the grassroots development movement is coming with new vision and people with new ideas, to transform Liberia.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Gontee. It sounds like you cover about everything. Even when I was going to say, do you have anything else? Oh, it sounds like you've exhausted everything else. So thank you for your time with us today. Um, yeah, we wish all Liberians who are aspiring, who have good intention for our country, we wish all of you the best. At the end of the day, our hope and prayer is that Liberia wins. But thank you for staying with
And
for
thank
joining us
you
today.
so very much for allowing me to come here and just run my mouth. But it was a good experience, and I love it, and I enjoy. I came here with a little bit of trepidation, but I think you have a demeanor that just settled me down, and I want to thank you for that. And it was great talking to you today.
I'm glad. I'm glad you think so. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's interesting. People will say, initially I scared them. It's like, yeah, I know I have that exterior scary posture, but come
Yeah,
closer. I wouldn't bite you. Would be good.
I know,
So
I
I'm
know.
glad you were able to, yeah, come closer, and I appreciate your time. And audience, thank you for staying with us. It has been, I think you can make your own judgment, but yeah, so this is what we're doing now. We're inviting aspirants to tell us what the intentions are so that we can make informed decision for maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now. It's just 16 days to the
16
elections.
days to go.
16 days to go. So as we listen to these people on Focus on Liberia, making a platform available for aspirants to come and talk to us. Hopefully, we get an idea as to what each is bringing, each is offering, and be able to discern. Our vote matters. The elections are important. Please, like, make the right decisions, and let's keep it peaceful. Let's keep it violence free, and at the end of the day, Liberia is all we have. Because as Focus on Liberia says it, we are all Liberians. Thank you, Mr. Gontee.
Thank you very much again, and I love
Okay.
the show.
All right. Thank you. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye bye for
Goodbye.
now.
Bye bye.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Ile yurete awiwa. Labira oh. Ile yurete awiwa. Labira mi labira.